What's up, and welcome to another episode of Pixel Knife. I'm your host, and today I have a very exciting video to share with you all. As of recording this, it is officially August 11th of 2018. It's not quite the time I uploaded it yet, but today is the official 1-year anniversary of F-71. So that is a very exciting thing, and of course you all knew that I would be doing this because you all hopefully saw the South Station creative process, which was actually a pretty successful video. A lot of people liked it. A lot of people were down for it. And so I'm like, why not do another one? And it's going to be super cool, and I hope you all are really down for this because I certainly am. I just want to get right into this video, really, and I want to talk a little bit about the first part of what went into the creative process of F-71. Obviously, you all, if you all follow this channel pretty closely, if any of you all do, then you all will know that a lot of times in certain videos when we were back doing gameplays, we would talk a lot about the films because the films were kind of the ongoing process of what we were doing. We were just doing gameplay videos to fill time and such, and it was a very cool process to do. And it was a lot. There was a lot of discussion on what was going into the films, and eventually what came out of the films, and really what started and what finished what was going to end up being the films. That sentence made no sense, but I hope you could glean at least something out of it. I was a really cool thing actually was creating F-71. The South Station was more just like kind of a solo thing, but F-71 was like oddly a kind of more collaborative effort. It's the only one out of the three films that has been like kind of all three of us thinking at once, all three of us being like, what could we all possibly do as a group to make something interesting, something unique? And of course, the collaborative effort didn't go as far as everybody filming it. Of course, I was the sole cinematographer and all that stuff, but Sam and James for F-71 were oddly kind of monumental in making the film come together, and it was especially monumental in what the film was when it was created at first versus what it came to be when it came out just last year. So let me begin by telling you all a little bit about the origins of F-71, if you will. The very start of F-71 was very interesting, and it was quite unique actually, in a sense that it was an odd process, you know. I'm trying to wrap my brain around what our actual original idea for it was. We had this, here's the very base idea, was that this guy went crazy, got kidnapped by two crazy doctors, and had no idea what his past was, and was basically like some sort of inpatient, I guess you could say. It was a really weird idea, and if you all know anything about my ideas, there isn't such thing usually as a weird idea. There's only, let me rephrase that. There's no such thing as a normal idea. I only come up with like really strange ideas, and I end up trying to make them work as best as possible. But regardless, here's the thing. F-71 was always the name of the disease. That was always the name of the disease. How that came to be the name of the disease is the only thing I can't exactly pinpoint. I'm going to watch a few things. I found some of the old teasers that I made for F-71. And I'm going to try to kind of pinpoint what our original idea maybe was, and maybe try to tell you all a little bit about that. But as far as I know, the way our ideas went was that, as I said, this guy was kidnapped by two crazy doctors. Maybe, I'm not even sure, by the teaser which I watched before filming this, it didn't even really seem like we had the idea of making it be that they're kidnapped him necessarily, but that he's like actually insane. The whole time Sam was going to be the protagonist. Me and James were kind of the antagonists. Yes, I did act. That'll be a very interesting thing for you all to see, is the fact that I did in fact act in the first phase of F-71. It was only a teaser, and but I did in fact act in that, which was very interesting. And obviously, by the fact that that teaser made no waves whatsoever, it's pretty clear to me that that was never intended to be the final product, which is pretty good, because even when I was that amateur of a filmmaker, I was aware of what terrible quality was versus what good quality was. Of course, then again, that teaser, if I remember correctly, I'll be able to correct these dates in editing, but I'm doing this kind of off the tongue and such. The original teaser, if I remember correctly, was in 2016. It would have had to have been, because it was after the South Station, so I'm pretty sure it was sometime in 2016 that I made that. In fact, I think it may have been November of 2016. I'll have the date of when I uploaded that, so it's going to be interesting. Yeah, so those are like the origins. Those are like the kind of my overarching thoughts of what the original process was. And now I'm going to tell you all a little bit of the origins of how we exactly developed F-71 after that teaser. So after the teaser was released, I released it on my alternate YouTube channel, actually, which I was using at the time for quote unquote whatever the crap I want to upload. That I remember that was my I remember that was my original channel description for that alternate channel. And boy, did I have a lot of weird stuff on that channel. I had everything from random skits. I remember there, if I remember correctly, there was one skit we did that I uploaded to that, and I deleted it, and I don't think I have it. It was probably too bad to put up on YouTube anyways. It was probably horrible, frankly. It may have actually been, you know what? I think it may have actually been the first draft of that hilarious montage, because I remember I was uploading specific little monologues that we did. We did the tiny little monologues, you know, the ones with the whatever that resolution is, the phone resolution. Yeah, that was fun. Whew, that was rough. But I still love that hilarious montage, and it's actually pretty popular. But that's beside the point. So when we were in the process of creating F-71, obviously a lot of things changed. The first draft never went through. I remember I was still in the mindset even after the South Station. And if you remember the South Station's creative process, you all remember that I did in fact develop the South Station as a play, as a stage play. And it was a very weird play, and I still never found the original writing for that. I never found the original document, but I did find the original teaser for F-71. So that's going to be very, very fun for you all to watch. I'll definitely put it at the end of this video. The end of this video is that way, not that way. It's really cool to see kind of how it got started versus how it was finished, and how it kind of grew as a film and grew as an idea. And you know what I think? I think I was very heavily inspired by the idea of the South Station. The South Station pretty much almost exactly influenced what I did for that first process of creating F-71, you know? I was thinking more like, you know, the South Station was like a huge hit. And if, you know, I'm going to look at the date I made this, and I'll be right back with you all to give you all some more accurate information. I'm looking at it right over here. The media was created on September 10th of 2016. So I was kind of close. Did I say September? In fact, I think it may have been November of 2016. And that was, gosh, 8 months before I even made the final product. So I was really trying to plan in advance. I mean, you know me. If you watched the last video, yesterday's video, then you all know that I love planning ahead. I don't do that much anymore. But even as close as 2016, I was still planning way ahead of myself. But of course, F-71 was already in development by that time. If I can remember correctly, it was in fact in development at that time. That was obviously my first time since the South Station telling people that I was actually making a second short film. And because of the pretty hardcore success of the South Station, I was pretty motivated and pretty invigorated to make a second short film. And I think that was such a huge thing for me. And I remember being so like pushed to be like, you know, I'm going to make this better. I'm going to make this more in depth, and I'm going to make it more interesting. And of course, as always, my focus on F-71 was making interesting characters, because I think what kind of stuck about the South Station was that Ryan Flanagan, who is the main character, was kind of quirky and odd and had a few bizarre things about him. And so I wanted to make characters that were as interesting as Ryan Flanagan was. And if you were me, you probably wouldn't have made that bad of a teaser, but I had some really bad production quality back then. You could debate that I still have bad production quality now, but I don't think I do. So it's really exciting to kind of see where it's grown from, and I do think that it's partially thanks to you all constantly motivating me to get better at what I do, and it's by you all loving this stuff, and it's partially by me wanting to get better at this stuff that exact result happens. So after the original F-71, the film really went kind of never done. It went never done, basically. I did that one, and I just couldn't do it. I remember I was trying for basically the rest of 2016 to actually have it released by the end of 2017. I was actually trying to make a complete story of the teaser you're about to see at the end of this video. So that's going to be really bizarre, and you all are going to wonder how I was even able to make like 5 pages out of it, nonetheless 1 page for a teaser. One of the weird shticks about the teaser was a line that we actually make fun of a lot, and I think this is actually going to reignite some old humor. But the ending of the teaser is, I don't want to spoil it too much, but the ending of the teaser is Sammy saying, Miranda. And that's apparently some sort of name he remembers. There's no context to why he would remember that name, but it was supposed to be, ooh, he doesn't remember the name. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I always do that for some reason. Still trying to get used to no one cares. Shut up. This is the thing about the way I used to be with creating, is that I would kind of make these overarching ideas and not really have anything of what would happen in between those ideas. And that's, like, from what I've learned, that's kind of the general crux of most indie filmmakers and such. So it's kind of funny to me, you know, that I had this same thing that most everybody has, and it's kind of something we can all unify under, is that we all had this problem and we didn't know how to solve it. And I certainly had no freaking idea how to solve it. And I was trying so hard to figure it out. And it took until the end of 2016 to finally figure it, to freaking figure it out. I had that study hall, and I just remember one day I was in there and I was like, and we were talking on the group messenger, and I was like, do you all remember that short film that we were trying to create? I'm kind of reenacting that conversation. You know, we had this idea of a short film, and we never really came through on it. And I was like, you know, after the South Station, I kind of want to make another short film. And Sammy was like, oh yeah, I remember. It was like F-72 or something. I was like, F-71. I think he said like F-62 or something. And I was like, oh yeah, that was F-71. And he was like, oh yeah, that was a fun idea. And I was like, what was like the plot? And he was like, and James actually was the one, I believe, that remembered the plot. And he was like, well, me and you played these like really weird doctors, and we were like, this is a reenactment, so this is probably like maybe 1% accurate to what we actually said. But James is like, yeah, we were these doctors or something like that. And So I was like, wow, that's really strange and horrible. And they were like, yeah, it was bad. And I remember it being bad. And I'm pretty sure at that time that video was still public. Thankfully, it is not public, but it's about to be again. So I guess either way, life goes full circle. But they were like, yeah, it was bad. But um, I was like, there's something in that was interesting. And I thought of the idea of like, the doctor is like, the crazy doctor was like the most interesting part. Like the idea of having a crazy doctor, and then I was like, the crazy doctor kidnapping somebody, and they're like, yeah, that's pretty interesting. And I was like, and I'm pretty sure that's where the conversation ended, because that's when the ideas kind of started flowing through my head. And if y'all don't know me, I'm kind of the type of person that gets creative sparks in like really long increments over one period of time. So that's kind of how I was able to do the Looking Glass. But of course, the Looking Glass took way longer to create than any of the others, but that'll be later. When I was creating F-71, I was of the mindset that I was like, you know what? This is going to be different. It's going to be not the South Station. I'd basically kind of purged the South Station from my mind, frankly. Wait just a second. I may have given you all some wrong information. F-71 may have been before the South Station. No, that's false. Because the South Station came out in February of 2017. And then F-71 came out today of 2017. So I was making F-71 closer to the time of South Station. That's weird. I wrote the full idea out in that one class period. I wrote out basically what could be considered a mini treatment, I guess. It was like a plot synopsis, I guess, of the entire film and what it would be. And I remember actually being like, wow, this is going to be actually really exciting. And this seems like something that I could actually pull off. At that time, I was just thinking of things like, what can a person filming with an iPad do? So that was a very interesting time. And since I was so focused on just being like kind of limiting myself by my technology, which I know I should have never done. Like I know that now. Like I have a pretty decent camera now, but like I don't limit myself by the fact that I have this camera. This camera can do some pretty amazing stuff. And you all saw that by the Looking Glass, and even more so by Creation. I think Creation was like production quality 40 times better than the Looking Glass. I finished the screenplay. Oh, what was it? I think I finished the screenplay 5 weeks before we started filming. We were trying really hard to get dates for filming to make sure that we could get it all filmed in an ample time. And I was all like, yeah, we can do it. Things arose, problems came up specifically with the screenplay. And so I had to change around the screenplay a lot and to make sure that it was all really up to snuff. And so I did finish that screenplay 5 weeks before. I think it actually ended up being 4 weeks before, maybe. And then the filming, and then I was planning for the filming. I made the official schedule, and I mean, it wasn't super official because there were only 2 people in the entire film, but we had to like make do for like weather conditions. We had to make do for the specific needs of the scenes and all that film related good stuff. So that was a very exciting thing, was actually making like a plan for the first time, because the South Station was just kind of out of nowhere. Like I think I finished the play for South Station. I probably mentioned this in the creative process, but I think for comparison of the South Station to F-71, I think I finished South Station 1 week before we started filming it, and then we filmed it in 1 weekend. And then for F-71, I finished it 4 weeks in advance, and we took, was it an entire month? I think it was no, it was 2 weeks. It was 2 weekends of filming for F-71. I'm thinking of Looking Glass. But regardless, it was 2 weekends of filming, and that even felt way more like official to me. I was like, this film is actually going to take some time and energy to do. And so we did finish it in that two weeks time. I worked on it, made the official announcement of its release. When did I make that announcement? but the teaser trailer, I believe, was a few months before it, and then the cinematic trailer was even more a few months before it. I released those teasers, and those teasers were very, very well received, and that made me super excited for the film. And so I released the film August 11th, 2017, and it was received massively better than the South Station, partially because it probably had a better story. I think it was slightly better executed than the South Station. I think the writing was slightly better, obviously. And I just generally think that people kind of resonated with the idea a little bit more because the idea was more fleshed out. It had a little bit more of a heart to it because Neiliv had like killed his daughter, he killed his son and wife, and he basically had to bury them because, and then he was like going insane, and this video camera showed like, I came up with that video camera idea kind of on the fly. That was actually something I added like probably the week before we started filming. I was like, you know, this would be a cool little addition to make. And it actually made for a kind of iconic scene among us about when Neiliv kind of jumps up and says, "Here's Neiliv," and it's like, that's kind of still funny to me, but it does add to his character, and I still do really like his character as a whole. And James pulled his character off phenomenally, and it was kind of exactly what I envisioned, oddly enough. So it kind of worked out great. And Samuel was great, obviously, as Carter Owens, still a household name for us. We still reflect on Carter Owens and Morbus and all of that good stuff. So yeah, Morbus, man. Morbus is Latin for disease, in case you're all wondering. So it's like Morbus was like the god of disease and like all that stuff. It was a weird idea that I kind of put in there with Morbus, but I kind of liked that idea. I still do. And so here's the final thing I want to say about F-71 was the results. You all went insane for F-71. I think before I posted F-71, I was at the threshold of 50 subscribers, maybe I just passed, which was an insane milestone for me, was 50. And and then I released the South Station, I believe. Maybe it was even before the South Station. I can actually look up some comments and see, and I'll kind of give you all some more specific dates. But this is kind of just me like thinking out loud. Is like, I believe I had 50 before the South Station. After South Station, I had 70. And then after F-71, I was at 80 maybe or something like that. So like each of the films really garnered a lot of success and a lot of growth in the channel, which was awesome. And I still appreciate you all for continuing to love on F-71. It's kind of reached its lull point, but it's still getting some pretty good like reception, and it's still getting some views, but I don't really care about that. Like the F-71 definitely had its time, but like I still love that film, and no matter how low its quality is, I think it has a high amount of not originality. It has like the idea of like, it was the first idea kind of that was collaborative, and that's what I loved about it the most, was the fact that it was like a collaborative idea, and that's kind of what made me love it, really. And it's what makes me still love it, is the fact that it was such a collaborative thing kind of all the way through. We were all kind of developing our own things. I was developing the story. James and Samuel were kind of making their own characters, and that's kind of something I'll further into the Looking Glass when I talk about that, which will be soon, by the way. So it was just so exciting to be able to work on something collaboratively, and I felt so much more free to be a little bit more creatively lenient because the South Station was so well received. And so I was like, you know what, I'll make something even weirder. And so that happened. And then the Looking Glass happened. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did like this video, you can press the like button right down there and hit the subscribe button for more videos. And I do really hope you all enjoyed this one. This one was pretty significantly longer than the South Station, but I just had so much more to talk about because F-71 was so compact and so weird. I just don't know. But if you all are interested, I'll give you all that teaser right at the end of this video. I'll probably start it soon. Until then, I'll stare at the camera weirdly. Teaser time. It's only been 6 days. Let's give it more time.
He's not going to remember.
He will, in time.
Who are you all? Mr. Robinson, you need to calm down. You've been in a panic-induced coma for 6 days now.
What?
I think you need to sit down. This is going to be a lot to take in. Okay, allow us to introduce ourselves. My name is Dr. Stevens, and this is my superior, Dr. Wilson.
Why are you all here?
Your condition is a bit unique, Mr. Robinson.
I can't remember anything. I have to go. Stop him!
It's right! It's right that you don't remember anything. You've been through some trauma, to say the least.
There is one face, one name I can remember. Miranda.